Oh, hi there. Um, would you like some? Would you like some effective poetry revision? I'm asking you. No, it's polite to respond. Anyway, would you like some? Yes, you would. Well, here's some effective poetry revision for you. You know, I heard, and a little birdie told me. I'm not going to talk about who that little birdie was. But a little birdie told me that people were struggling in their memories to discern between Charge of the Light Brigade and Bayonet Charge. I think it was mainly because they just have the word charge in both of the titles, and when you say Bayonet Charge, what was that? Give me this line. This is from Bayonet Charge or Charge of the Light Brigade. My voice is Charge of the Light Brigade. People will say, I don't know, I'm not sure. And if you're wondering the best way to remember which poems are which and the best way to memorise the poems, there's really only there's really only one very effective and efficient way to do it, and that is just to, without analysing them, without thinking about effects or any of that sort of jizzy jazz, perhaps just jazz, ignore the first part, without that jazz, I tried to make it sound quite fancy and it just made it sound disgusting. I don't know what, I don't know what I was doing there. Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Bayonet. That was, yeah. Which point was I at? Yeah, don't analyse it. Don't think about the effect that the writer was going. This is just for pure memory and how to remember the poems in your mind, how to distinguish them, but without the song. If there are some particular poems you're having trouble with remembering correctly, or you're getting them confused in your head and you don't know how to memorise them or how to remember lines from them, just and this is, I suppose, advice I should be taking really, because I haven't been doing it. Every evening or so, it doesn't have to be long, you just spend about, if there are 2 or 3 particular poems that you're getting muddled a lot, just read through them individually. And if you don't like poetry, I suppose it's a bit of a bore, especially if there are particular poems that you hate, but just go through the 2 or 3 poems and read each of them individually, and you'll start to notice there are very different, well, isn't the case with some of them in the anthology. But for example, with Bayonet Charge and Charge of the Light Brigade, those are 2 poems written at very different times by very different poets, and they are very different. If you read them one after the other, they're very different in terms of style and the way they're in structure, and the messages and the intent behind them were very different. And you'll find that if you read, especially Bayonet Charge a lot, and Charge of the Light Brigade as well, there'll be certain lines that will stick in your head because, well, I mean, for example, he lugged a rifle numb as a smashed arm. Lugging a rifle numb as a smashed arm. That's a line you don't tend to forget. So if you read through, not only will you remember lines from different poems that you can then sort of draw on, because once the GCSEs are over, you'll never have to draw on them again. So it's a month or 2 of under a month. It's just under a month of intense reading. If you read them, I think actually, the best way to memorise poetry is just to read. Actually, it's the best way to remember poetry. It's the best way to get the full effect of poetry is to read it out loud. And then when you read it out loud, you'll not only see the differences between them, especially between those 2 I just mentioned, Charge of the Light Brigade and Bayonet Charge. You'll see that lines will stick in your head more. especially because Charge of the Light Brigade, if you read it aloud, has a certain is it dactylic? I think it's dactylic. Wait a second. Actually, it might be anapestic. I think that's what it is. Anyway, you'll notice that there's a very particular rhythm to it that actually is quite exciting if you read it out loud. It's quite, it's very patriotic, and if you read Charge the Light Brigade, you'll notice there's a very big difference if it's read out loud to Bayonet Charge, and that's going to help everyone's revision tremendously, especially for poetry. It helped. I don't do it as often as I should, but when I do it, it does help a lot. And I suppose that under this next few days, I'll be doing it more and more and more when I can to help. Ideally, that might help with your poetry revision too. You know, perhaps it might help better than that bloody god awful song did.